Over the past few days, a Dead by Daylight creator by the name of Jane Romero has found herself at the center of a lot of drama in the community, especially on Twitter. And you may have seen snippets of this drama here and there, but I thought I would create a video that went over everything and gave my opinion on the whole situation. So let's start with the drama itself and how everything actually came to be. Basically, Jane posted an opinion on her Twitter which essentially compared the playstyle of Plague to the playstyle of Skull Merchant and claimed that they were very similar, I think. Anyway, the original tweet has been deleted, but that's the impression that I got from other people talking about what was said. And if you've spent more than 1 second on Dead by Daylight Twitter, you will know that people frequently disagree on this platform, and this was no exception. Somebody replied to her tweet and basically posted a different opinion. Now, it wasn't the disagreement itself that was the issue, but it was actually this last line that you can see here. What a crazy thing to say, lol. Now, to a lot of people, that will feel very colloquial. You know, it's a thing that's commonly said, but to Jane, it represented something very, very different. In Jane's opinion, this choice of word was intentional and was actually designed to be an ableist attack against her and her mental state. And if you're familiar with Jane's Twitter account, then you may know that she frequently posts any interaction that she has in which she receives attacks, whether through transphobia or through her choice of killer or anything like that. She will post it and she will talk about it. She's been very vocal about the treatment that she receives as a trans woman in the community. And so, as is her style, she posted this on her Twitter page in the form of quote tweets and screenshots, basically saying that this person had been ableist towards her. And another thing to know about Jane's Twitter account is that she has almost 10,000 followers. And a lot of those followers are very ride or die in their attitude towards her and will go to bat for her whenever she asks them to do so. So when Jane posted this account's name and made these accusations, this person received a lot of backlash and harassment as a result. And at this point, a large number of creators, including myself, stepped in to try and make Jane see the error in what she had done, to help her take a step back from the situation and see the harm that she was causing. Now, another one of the creators who did so was Vulpixia. You may be familiar with that name, and she posted this in Jane's replies. I'm not even sure if I should say anything, but can you stop? I've searched all context, and the only thing I found was this person called your opinion crazy, not you, your opinion. This spotlight is unnecessarily harmful. And this perfectly sums up what my opinion and many of the other creators' opinions on the subject was. It was a miscommunication, a misconstrue of the meaning of the word and the choice of the word, and that the resultant hate train that Jane had started was incredibly dangerous and needed to be stopped. Unfortunately, however, Jane didn't respond very kindly to these requests and actually lashed out at many creators. For example, she posted a subtweet basically saying that she expects an I'm sorry from all of these creators who had spoken out against her, and also specifically targeting certain other creators. For example, with Vulpixia, she said, I wonder how Vulpixia found her energy to say something here, but did nothing when I had to deal with transphobia. Now, I've been following Vulpixia for a while. I like her content, I respect her as a person, and I know that she has been very vocal in her support of not only the LGBT community as a whole, but Jane specifically. So this tweet is incredibly disrespectful, unwarranted, and for a lot of people summed up the issues that they were starting to find with Jane's behavior and how she conducts herself in the space. Now, following this, a few days pass, and we see that people post that Jane has apologized to them over what she said to them, but Jane, in her opinion on the crazy incident, was unmoving. She fully believed in everything that she had said up until that point, which resulted in another person reaching out to her privately to discuss this. Now, this private conversation was then posted on Twitter. Now, you can pause to read this entire exchange if you want, but to sum it up, that first message there is basically saying that this person had an issue with how Jane conducted her dissatisfaction with the use of word from that other person. They basically said that you could have just reached out to them privately and said, hey, I didn't like this word you used. Can you not use that in the future? And they also made the suggestion that maybe Jane's issues are actually internal rather than external, and that maybe Jane needs to reevaluate her own behavior rather than constantly lashing out at other people who criticize it. Again, unfortunately, Jane didn't respond very well to this, as you can see in that second message. Now, I am going to read this because I think it's important and I think it sums up a lot of issues that a lot of people are having with Jane and her conduct. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to accept gatekeeping on my feelings after I felt attacked about my mental health with a word proved as ableist. I didn't attack anyone, I defended myself over someone saying I had no rights to act defensively after such a rude attack that had ableist implications in it. I would appreciate you not dictating my feelings and trying to be more empathetic with someone who already had to deal with so much harassment. You don't know what I live, I don't ask you to understand it but to respect it. And a suggestion for life, as a cis person, don't speak over trans voices, over what they should or shouldn't do. It doesn't make you a good ally. Now, let's not beat around the bush here. This message is filled with manipulation tactics from the get-go. Specifically, the fact that Jane frequently attempts to silence any criticism against her by saying that as a cis person, you do not get the right to criticize what I am doing because you do not understand my struggles in my life. Now, I'm a firm believer that those who are not in a minority should not try and speak for the minority's experiences. However, I think in this instance, it needs to be pointed out that in that first message, this person did not mention anything to do with transgender identity, and also that initial interaction in which somebody said her opinion was crazy had nothing to do, again, with her trans identity. And this is the issue that a lot of people were talking about. Jane will frequently bring transphobia into the conversation as almost a defense mechanism, as a way of shutting down any conversation that is intent on criticizing her behavior or pointing out something that she has done as wrong. Now, following this, Jane makes, in my opinion, her third biggest mistake. She pulls this conversation, this tweet up on her live stream in front of, I think, about 65 people and starts to attack this person. She makes accusations against this person by saying that they are ableist and transphobic, and also insults them by calling them a clown and making subtle digs about their viewership.
To a clown like this, unfollow them, because they are disgusting. They just look for drama to try to push their channel. When you live a perfect life, full of joy, and like your main problem is if you escape a trial of DBD or not. White is people dealing with no problems in my life. Oh no. But they were helpful. They were trying to be helpful. The hypocrite piece of shit. And you are feeding this kind of people who have literally no interest in making this community a better place, but just feeding their ego because they are not able to create a positive content, and they are not able to promote anything positive in this community. This is what you are. You are all accomplices for these people.
Now, it's important, first of all, to acknowledge the fact that this behavior we've seen from Jane is disgusting, disrespectful, and quite frankly, unacceptable. I am saying all of this to make my opinion very clear from the get-go that Jane has not behaved correctly, in my opinion, in these scenarios. However, I am going to talk about what may have caused this behavior and why I think it's important to acknowledge the events leading up to these. If you're familiar at all with Jane's content, then you will know that over the past few months, Jane has suffered attacks about everything, about her trans identity, about the fact that she plays as school merchant, about the fact that she uses Jane Romero as a large part of her online identity. Pretty much everything about her and how she presents herself has been attacked in some capacity. And I think that the result of all of this is that Jane has now reached a point where her knee-jerk reaction is to defend herself when something looks even remotely like an attack on herself. There's actually an interaction she had with another popular Dead by Daylight YouTuber by the name of Hens333 that perfectly sums up that sentiment. I don't have any footage or screenshots of this, but essentially, Hens and Jane went head-to-head in a match in which they were both playing under anonymous mode, so they had no idea who they were going against. In the endgame chat, they got into some disagreement about an aspect of the match, and while talking to her, Hens frequently used masculine-driven terms such as man and bro. This then resulted in Jane calling him transphobic, and then proceeding to try and cancel him and out him on Twitter for this interaction. Thankfully, since then, Hens and Jane have spoken and they have sorted out their differences, apologized to each other, and there is no bad blood between them as far as I know. But that kind of knee-jerk reaction from Jane when she believes that people are attacking her identity has still been exhibited over the past week, over the past month, and has become a major problem with how she conducts herself in the space. Another thing that I think has become a big problem with Jane is that she seems to be unable to separate her identity as a trans woman from her identity as a Dead by Daylight content creator, which means that when people disagree with her opinions as a creator, she reacts to it as if they are disagreeing with her identity as a trans woman. It would be like if somebody disagreed with my statement that the Doctor was the worst killer in Dead by Daylight, and I reacted by saying, well, as a bi man, I'm used to people saying that my opinions are wrong. It's incredibly unhealthy, in my opinion, not to have this separation of identities and to react to everything as a personal attack rather than just a disagreement with an opinion you may hold or something you did in your content. Now, again, I want to make it very, very clear that I am not saying any of this to excuse her behavior in any way. Jane has hurt a lot of people, and she has tarnished her image in a massive way. But I do think it's helpful and important to try and understand why someone may be acting and reacting to certain things in a certain way. Essentially, my point is that Jane may not be a bad person to the core. She may just be going through a period of extensive hurt, and as a result, she's lashing out at the people around her. And that kind of brings me on to why I'm making this video at all, because I've been seeing far too many people reacting and responding to these events with hatred and anger. For example, in the past 24 hours, a YouTube video was posted on this topic. And while I do agree with some of the points made in that video by the creator, a lot of the points were steeped in a personal dislike of Jane as a person and as a creator. And you could see how that had influenced this person's approach to talking about the topic. Another thing I've seen is that far too many people are using these events as an excuse to personally attack Jane. There have been a lot of transphobic comments, a lot of insults, and all of that needs to stop. People need to understand that there is a difference between criticizing somebody's behavior or content and just straight up bullying someone. And if we are verging into the latter, then we are not helping anything. All we are doing is perpetuating the hate cycle that is the very thing that has caused a lot of these problems. You don't have to support Jane's content, and I'm not here to tell you that you need to go and show her all of the support and all of the love, but you also don't need to attack her content. And what I am here to ask or to say to you is to just leave her alone. What Jane clearly needs, in my opinion, is a break from Twitter, which she's taken, which is really good. But I also think she needs a break from content creation full stop. I think it would be healthy for her to step away, to spend some time with herself, recenter who she is, and then to come back with a healthier mindset in the future. And me personally, I do hope that Jane does come back in a better place and that she finds some amount of happiness and peace. What I also want to say is, please guys, feel free to leave in the comments the names of any other trans creators who you want to lift up and who you think people should check out. I think it's important that off the back of all of this, we don't lose that love that we've had for the trans community in Dead by Daylight, and we continue showing support to the creators who need it and who deserve it. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below as well. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel for more Dead by Daylight content every week. I hope you have a fantastic day. Go out there and be the best damn crunks that you can be. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.
So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you.